ARKADE is a VR first-person shooter set in a retro low-poly setting. It very recently got an open playtest on Steam and I couldn't help but download it and give it a go to see what it's like. In this video I will be talking about what you are greeted with when you boot it up, what you can do in the game, what the impression the game gives, and what I feel could be improved or worked on, as well as in the end I will show a full playthrough of the available level, so if for some strange reason you can't get your hands on it for whatever reason, you can see what the full level looks like from start to finish. Before that though, remember to subscribe if you haven't already, otherwise AI might take over your PC and rickroll you. So the first thing that you'll see when booting up ARKADE currently is basically a messy basement, and hey, maybe that's what you see when you take off the headset, I don't know. But anyway, in this basement you can clearly see many posters and newspapers talking about an AI called ARK-ADE, which seems to have taken over pretty much everything it can take over. Hopefully in the full game the lore is explained in full, as it sounds like quite an interesting take on a story. Then you have this classic arcade cabinet linked with a gun. You can change your settings with that, and then you press start. And I must admit I do like the little animation it does. It's really cool that it sucks you inside the arcade cabinet and you have the perspective of being inside looking out. I thought that was a really nice way of integrating the gameplay with the rest of the game. For the actual gameplay, you have a standard pistol, enemies are usually one shot to the head or a couple of shots to the body depending on the enemy type, and you can actually shoot enemy bullets in mid-air for bonus points. Again, another cool feature. In the playtest, the bonus weapons that you can get range from a machine gun, a revolver that also seems to ricochet between enemies, and a shotgun which is pretty strong for groups of enemies. There is also the ability to slow time for a limited period, so if it's a particularly tricky area with many enemies, you can matrix it up and have a little breathing room to shoot them all in the face. On top of that, there are also sneaky little secrets hidden within the level. I have found a few of them, but I won't show them on the video just because I think it's more fun to find them without being shown where they are. So now I've explained all of the main features, my impressions are that it's a pretty solid base for the game. It's pretty fun learning how the game works and the mechanics behind it, and the weapons are pretty interesting, and also very retro-like as the guns are more power-ups than anything else, they're not long-lasting weapons. You can't just pick up a shotgun and then blast your way through the level. You have to consider the amount of shells you actually have left. So, in a way, once you learn that level, you could understand what gun to use and where to be the most effective, making it a little bit of a learning curve, but if you really wanted to min-max your gameplay, that should be a good thing. Because the fact that it means you actually have more replayability in the game because you can kind of learn where you should be using certain guns. The game does look very unique as well. It looks very Tron-like, but at the same time, I think it also seems to take a vaporwave style due to the color palette used in the game, but I'll let you decide if that's an accurate description or not. So in terms of feedback for the game, that's where things get a little bit tricky. In terms of visuals, I'm unsure if this is an Oculus thing, but in my video that you're watching here it probably looks completely fine, the colours are quite strong. But in the Quest 2 headset, it looks kind of washed out. The only way I can describe it is it's like a pastel colour scheme, like if you got a packet of chalk. It looks very chalky, kind of pink and blue, not vibrant at all. And I haven't got any kind of colour correction on my headset turned on, so I'm not really sure what caused it. Moving on to the control side of things, almost everything seems fine. I've just got a few small issues, and one is the magazine release button is on the side grip of the right controller, and it seems a little bit touchy. It's quite easy when shooting to accidentally grip a little bit too tight and drop your magazine on the floor. Like one Discord user in there said, it makes you look like Johnny English, and it's a very accurate description because the magazine just falls out and you're like, oh fuck. I have a friend who has a Valve Index who also has this issue, so maybe change it to point the weapon down to release the mag, or make it so that it's a button on top of the controller instead. Just make it so it's out of the way, can't accidentally press it. Another control issue that could be a problem is that when you want to select a bonus weapon, you have to hold the mag release button and rotate your wrist to select the weapon, which could be a little bit tricky, as on the actual wrist wheel itself it looks like there's going to be quite a lot of weapons to choose from in the future. And if you're mid-combat most of the time, I think that could be a bit of a fumble. I think maybe either making it so that you can pause time when you're selecting, but you can't move obviously, so it's not OP. Just make it so it pauses time, you can select the weapon and then move back into the combat might be a bit better. Because right now, you basically have to run around dodging bullets, trying to get the revolver like, shit, is that the right one? Moving on to actual game mechanics, I think some things need explaining a little better, like the health, and the ARK, which is a little cube. I know that you need to protect the little cube, but I'm unsure if the health is linked between us or we have different health pools. My main way of staying alive in the playtest has basically been kill everything that moves before it kills me. I know that there's some health on the right hand indicated, but I've actually died before that reached 0 before, so I'm not sure whether that's a bug or not. I'm a bit confused as to some of the systems, but maybe that's being worked on, but I think it does need explaining a little bit more. Gameplay wise is where things get a little bit tricky between the concept of the game and user choice. Every time you get a headshot, for example, the announcer says headshot or something to that effect. And I must admit, personally, I wish there was a longer timer between on how often he would say it, or just the option to turn it off and show the text. As sometimes, in some areas, if you get a lot of headshots, it's basically every second you'll just hear headshot, and it's like, I get why it does that, because in the arcade cabinet theme, that's what games would have done if you hit headshots in an arcade cabinet. But when it's constantly in your ear on over-ear headphones, it's maybe a little bit too much. My final bit of feedback is really more for the level design side of things. As it is right now, you walk around and you shoot enemies. There is some cover, which is also destructible, which is nice. And there is different terrain like going up the walkway, but there's not too much in the way of interactivity within the level. Even if it was just some doors you can shoot the button for to open up new areas, or just shoot the doors to blow them up, I'm not really that bothered. Any kind of interactive part of the level would be highly appreciated. Or even if it was just enemies might drop a shield sometimes so you can kind of block a couple of shots before it shatters. It just would make it a little bit more than just shoot and move kind of thing. Though again, because this is only one level, it's hard to tell whether something like that may already be in the works. Other than that, more enemy designs is about all I can really say to add, but considering this is most likely, as I said, the first level of the game, it's probably either already on the to-do list or the have-done list. But just to say again, I feel like that this is a strong base for ARKADE, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the game develops, as I think it could be a nice addition to the VR game section, as there's not really anything else out there that's like this in the more casual FPS area, and it could have a nice neat story to go along with it. But that just about covers my experience with ARKADE, but as promised, I will leave you with a full level playthrough for your eyes to absorb. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you for the next video.
Huh?